I'm Evan Sims, and I'm a certified arborist by trade, and I work for Planet Geo, a US-based company performing projects all over the world, specifying in urban forestry and geospatial technology. We are the makers of tree plotter software, which our product is used around the world, a cloud-based inventory management system. At Planet Geo, many of us are subject matter experts from the industry of arboriculture, urban forestry, environmental science, conservation, and it is part of our strategy to help inform the software development, the product development, that we really can create a product that is for the industry specifically, because we can imagine it's something that we wanted in our own job, or that we really can envision being the right tool for specific industry. Part of the challenge is that there's a lot of gray asset management tools out there, and they're very good at mapping streets and light poles and other things, but because trees are alive, they grow, they appreciate instead of depreciate in value. This is also why we need a different type of system to manage these green assets than the typical gray asset management system. And this is again why we like to have our in-house expertise to inform the development of these products. So Tree Plotter is a map-based GIS system. It's accessed on the cloud through a web browser. And part of that strategy is so that it's accessible to a wide range of stakeholders, even the public. And part of the goal is to make sure that anyone can access the application. And in fact, this is what makes a workshop like this possible, because we came out to the park and anyone with a smartphone or tablet, which we all now have in our pockets, can actually access the software and perform work in the software. We also create this as a map-based product so that we can really understand not only what the trees are, but where are those trees, which is the most important thing, because our work is outside, maybe spread out at the city scale, at the county scale, and it can be quite a challenge to find these trees, and that's why we use the map-based interface as the standard. So utilizing a technology system like this software, one, the benefits are that what gets measured gets managed. And so the first step in managing a large number of assets is you have to record those assets. So you really need a system, again, that can be accessed very easily, and it's easy to enter information into the software. Then once you know what you have in a system, then you can go to work. And again, having a software that has tools specifically that you can, for example, like the project we're doing today, filter down to a certain number of trees quite easily. Today we're only looking at large trees. So with a click of a couple buttons, we can easily create a map of those large trees. Now we can pinpoint and perform further work on those trees. Some of the challenges of implementing technology are that not everyone is technically savvy and accepting of a new way of doing things. So really a lot of the challenges have to do with culture and training and accessing and changing the way that we are managing these assets, accepting the software, and then taking the time to train and practice and be taught maybe something. Many people we have working in our councils may be from an older generation and they don't pick up technology as fast. And so we really have to ensure that they are trained properly, because as always, if we don't understand something, we're not going to use it. And so this is really most of the challenge. Once we get training, people often discover they do like it. It is very useful and easy to use. And it's just this initial barrier to get people using the software effectively. So I think one of the best tools, the most popular tools we have in Tree Plotter is the ecosystem benefit calculator. And this really serves to, we can place now a monetary value on the benefits that trees provide. And this really is a powerful message in order to help create the advocacy of protecting trees. Why do we need to protect trees? Why do we need to invest in money and a cost for caring for these trees? It's because they're providing great benefits. And these ecosystem benefits range from stormwater capture, so they help slow down the flow of stormwater and overwhelming the gray water system. They are capturing and storing carbon. They are cooling our cities tremendously. Where are we standing on a hot day? We're standing in the shade of a tree. And now we can actually quantify these benefits and monetize these benefits so that we can show, yes, we no longer talk about qualitative things. We can talk about a quantitative method that the trees are providing benefits. And this goes a long way in often politicians or other stakeholders that may not understand why it's important to invest in trees. And so in Tree Plotter itself, this is done through a program called iTree. It's not our calculation. It's a calculation from the US Forest Service and other consortium of groups that have done the research to try to quantify different sizes, locations, and species and what these benefits are. And so our tool is interfacing that with the API, application program interface, and we are sending the tree inventory information and they are returning these values. And this occurs about every 15-minute cycle so that the tool will always have the most up-to-date information about the ecosystem benefits. I mentioned that our tool was used around the world, and this has been one of the most interesting things for me personally as an arborist, to get an opportunity to speak to other arborists around the world. And the more I learn, the more I assume there are differences, and in fact, there are less differences than similarities. However, each region tends to, there's no international or very little international standard for things like risk assessment or valuation or routine inspections. And so there's small nuances in the culture of taking care of trees in country to country or region to region. And so today we're using, for example, the track methodology developed by the International Society of Arboriculture. This is pretty much our standard in the US. However, there are other methods in Australia, for example. In England, they are using a method called QTRA, which it has a similar yet different methodology. And so we've adapted the software to create these different methodologies so that we can still use all the functionality of Tree Plotter and the benefits, but modify them for the local region and their standards. And there are many examples of this, but again, we see more and more that there are more similarities than differences. There's also the translation aspect. So we're translating our application in different languages so that really you don't have to speak English, you don't have to have an advanced education to access and utilize the tool. So our application, like I said, has been used, we have over 500 customers worldwide, and we launched the software, the first iteration of the software in 2015. So we've had almost 9 years of use. And so we've seen a lot, we've been able to see a lot of change through those years with our clients. And there's many stories, countless stories of improvement. I think some of the best ones are that a city with very little budget, very little resources, or basically no program to speak of, they will hire their first urban forester, and really the first thing to do is to collect the inventory. And they've purchased the tool at a small scale. They've collected the inventory, and now they have real data to take to the council or the government decision makers and say, here is what we have. Here is a plan based on this data, and this is a budget that I am requesting for this. Rather than saying, throwing out a number, I need $500,000 a year, the tool can really help to quantify and build this future plan. And we have countless stories of these cities growing their program because they can count on real data to show what they have, the condition of what they have, the safety of what they have. They can also tell stories of the sense of urgency, for example, and losing trees. And so if they've mapped trees like we have even in this project, we've seen this real time. We mapped all of the trees, and within only a matter of months, we've already lost trees. So we can take those trees from the map, and now we can quantify the loss and say, we need to slow this down. We are at this rate, we will have no trees in 2 years, let's say. And let's pause and let's request some time or some money to really promote tree preservation. So this is a good example, but this happens all over with many of our clients to help grow their programs.
Super. You're a pro.